On this episode of The Strange Medicine of Alice Strange, I watch my children and many others as the dark moon hangs in the sky. I'm not seen, but I am felt by those who are aware enough to feel. You are always creating in every action or non-action. What has been lost is that the feminine is not soft, it is not gentle. This is an adaptation of it. The feminine is creation in many forms, but at its truest, simply creation. I hold an ancient magic that has been around longer than I've gone by this name. It is a primordial knowing within all women. This is simply to show you how to create the life you most desire, like a painter chooses their color palette, or a weaver chooses their wool. Hello, Seekers. I am aliceestreastrange, and this is the Strange Medicine of Alice Strange podcast. In this podcast, we explore where psychology and spirituality intersect. And today, we are diving back into Hecate. You all loved my last podcast where I shared channeled messages from Hecate, so today we will be going deeper. I channeled these messages through automatic writing, and I shared some of them in episode 57. So if you're watching on YouTube, I will link that above, and if not, you can check that out on the podcast, episode 57. But today, we are going to get into what it feels like to connect with Hecate, the divine feminine within us all, her perspective on magic, and creating your life with intention. But first, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Alice. I'm a psychic development and spiritual self-development coach, and I help people tap into their spiritual gifts to overcome whatever is holding them back. Whether it's self-doubt or mental illness, I believe everyone is capable of great things, and I will walk with you through the darkness to find the light. If you're interested in joining a free community for spiritual individuals to connect and support each other, you can go to my Patreon and join as a free member and get to hang out with me in free events, get early access to my content, and get exclusive promotional offers. I also have a Discord server. It's a wonderful place. Go check it out. And if you like spirituality, psychology, self-development, and learning, make sure you subscribe or follow if you're ready to deepen your practice. I've been posting a lot of videos to my YouTube channel, one a week, that don't make it to the podcast. So if you haven't subscribed there yet, I would love to have you join me. I share a lot more witchy type content over there, and it is a great time. And as always, take care, love yourself, and remember, you don't have to do it alone. Now, let's get into it. First, I want to talk about how Hecate feels when you connect with her. When people connect with Hecate, they sometimes feel her as this weird, dark, ominous energy. And I've found that people who end up working closely with her really resonate with this energy. In my last podcast, she explained why she feels like home to us. And here's a channeled message about how she feels, in essence. And she makes a reference to the channeled messages I shared in my last podcast episode. So go watch that if you haven't. I am a hovering presence. I watch my children and many others as the dark moon hangs in the sky. I'm not seen, but I am felt by those who are aware enough to feel. You have felt me as home, and that I have explained. But to those who are not grown from my seed, I often feel similar to the dead. The reaction their body and psyche has is similar to that which happens in the presence of a soul lingering between worlds. It isn't always seen this way, as many do not connect with a strong, lingering soul in the way they connect with me, outside of familial spirits and spirits that desire to connect with them. When you call on me, I come, and I do not hesitate. If you will a connection, I will answer you as myself. If the caller's intention is true and their mind is sensitive, the energy of the formed union for some is unlike most. My lessons include to be you, so I am but myself. For those who need my teachings, they find solace in my darkness and comfort in my intensity. And I find myself that she really does help people who are reaching out to her with pure intentions, just about anybody. I've never asked for her help and not have her answer. She may not come with the help I'm wanting, but she does come. And I really do love this last bit about her lesson of being yourself. Since she teaches us to be ourselves, she is herself and doesn't try to make you comfortable and change herself in that way. Another lesson she teaches a lot is about finding the divine feminine within yourself, regardless of gender. And when I asked her about the divine feminine, this is what she had to say. What has been lost is that the feminine is not soft, it is not gentle. This is an adaptation of it. The feminine is creation in many forms, but at its truest, simply creation. In days where magic was new, the feminine was fierce and wild and sometimes savage. She was capable of every powerful action, but had more of an ability to see when to choose to be soft. As a creator, she made herself into what was needed. The feminine has an ability to nurture just as much as to fight. Magic has quite the ability to heal, so the feminine created herself into a healer. I really love this message. The feminine could be just as much as a fighter as anybody else, but has the ability to create, and the world needed healers, so she became a healer. I think that's so beautiful. It's really tapping into that dark divine or wild feminine in the first part of that. And so I asked her about magic and the divine feminine, and this is what she had to say. I hold an ancient magic that has been around longer than I've gone by this name. It is a primordial knowing within all women, the way a mother knows how to soothe her child's tears or how a meal can heal a loved one. The magic is almost fully feminine in nature. It is simply finding it within yourself, regardless of gender. The problem is now that has been almost lost in the modern feminine. Her power has been suppressed by those who fear it. I show my followers that the magic is in all of them, they just have to remember. I've found in my work with Hecate that finding our own inner power is a really big lesson she teaches. Here's an example from my workings with her. Once I was astral traveling to the middle world to do a sort of soul retrieval for myself, and I was very nervous. The middle world can be kind of dangerous, and I'd only been there a handful of times before, and I knew it was going to be a very emotional integration. A lot of shadows, a lot of heaviness, and a lot of tests to get there. And when I got into the middle world, I asked her if she would protect me should anything go wrong. And she just looked at me like, I mean, yeah, I guess, but you won't need it. It was a very, like, do you not realize your power? She's always teaching us that we're just as powerful as her or any other being. We just have to find that power and embrace it. I think it's a really big reason why a lot of people work with her. I think a lot of people talk about Hecate as this very serious, very heavy, very, no nonsense kind of goddess. And I find that to be true a lot of the time. I also find it to be true that she can be kind of a jokester. She can kind of make jokes. And I think this has to do a lot with how I receive guidance best. Our guides, deities, beings, angels will usually communicate with us in the way we learn best. It's kind of just like our brains pick it up that way, and they also understand that that helps us. So here is one of my favorite stories to share. I've probably shared this before somewhere. So here's a story about Hecate and her sense of humor with me in particular. This was very early in my journey. I'd probably been dedicated to her a year or less at this point, and I was learning tarot. I was really into it, and I was pulling cards every single day, trying to learn them. And I kept pulling the same cards for the same question over and over. And I would constantly be sending them to my one friend who was kind of helping me to interpret them and understand tarot a little bit better. And I would just continue to pull cards over and over of the same thing and ask the same question. And one day I pulled cards for this question, probably about the third time I had asked this question. And I get my 3 cards and I send my little text to my friend with the pictures of the cards, like, what does this mean? Here's my question. And as soon as I hit send, I got this flash image of my inner temple where I always go to work with Hecate, and I'm sitting in my little spot, and she's there. And she has a rolled up newspaper, like you would smack a dog with. And she starts smacking me across the head, saying, why won't you listen every time you answer your questions? And I just vividly remember this vision I had. And in the moment, it was exactly what I needed to kind of snap me out of it. Like I was living in very low vibration, maybe like a victim mentality kind of space. And this message was enough for me to be like, oh, I need to check myself. And I think I did stop doing that with my tarot cards after that, but that's just one example of how Hecate has come to me and really had this kind of gruff sense of humor. I think it's something people don't talk about a lot, but when I tell this story to people, they often have similar stories to share. So I just want to put it out there. Not all deities, not all guides are going to come to you and be very serious and stoic. They can make jokes too. And to finish us off, I'll share one of my favorite messages that I've gotten from her about creativity and how we should create. Every action is creating a future, like every pen stroke is laying down the design. People have such a limited idea of creative. You are always creating in every action or non-action. Yes, I teach you to create in ways humans call creative, but this is simply to show you how to create the life you most desire, like a painter chooses their color palette or a weaver chooses their wool. You should treat your life like the masterpiece it is. Don't let your colors become muddled. Oh, I love that one so much. So, everyone, don't let your colors become muddled and create with intention, because you're always creating, whether you mean to or not. So do it intentionally. And if you liked this podcast episode, give it a little thumbs up. And if you have a question about Hecate, or you have a question for Hecate, comment that down below and maybe I'll make a video answering your questions. But until next time, be well, be kind, and may your curiosity for this world and the next never fade.